Hey, are you looking to upgrade your key life areas and evolve to a higher level of existence? To practically harness personal growth and spirituality in a crazy, busy, imperfect world? Then you've come to the right place. My name is Prash, and this is Urban Spirituality, the show which uniquely fuses ancient wisdom with contemporary self-growth and spiritual disciplines to deliver value-adding tools, traits, and insights to help you unleash your fullest potential. We always keep it real, featuring authentic, unfiltered dialogue with guests from diverse backgrounds to inspire, entertain, and enlighten all who listen. So get ready for your dose of urban spirituality. Be present and let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to this live coming at you on a Monday. During this time of crisis, wherever you are in the world and wherever you're tuning in from, I pray that you and your families are in relatively safe and stable condition, that your households are adequately well stocked, and your connections to the outside world by way of web and internet are stable enough, and that you have some semblance of peace despite all the hype and the growing concerns around the situation that we're facing at the moment. We wanted to do this live to cover an area that I think is increasingly important at the moment, which is around the area of discipline. And discipline during difficult times. We are facing unprecedented times at the moment. All of us are walking and living through uncharted territory. It is a time for great catharsis, change, and austerity. And when austerity is required, discipline is needed. And this is what we want to touch on here. And I want to welcome a special guest who's joined us, but allow me to firstly introduce myself. My name is Prash Prash K. I'm a well-being expert and an ex-corporate city kind of guy who has dedicated my life and my work to bring wellness and transformation to the hearts and minds of professionals wherever you may be in the world, so we can help to increase our emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. And today, I am joined by a special guest from probably halfway around the world, tuned in from Sri Lanka, no less. Is our special guest, Sasanka Dias, who is a well-respected news anchor and a TV personality who has been working tirelessly with the people on the ground in Sri Lanka, as well as the media outlets, to bring coverage, sanity, and truth to the situation as it's unfolding, as he sees it on the ground. So Sasanka, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Hi, Prash. Welcome. Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure. And as you said, all of us are going through trying times. And this is a time where almost the entire globe has been struck by this menace, tribulation. And it is of utmost importance of discussing about having a disciplined mindset when it comes to day-to-day life. So I would say greetings from Sri Lanka, and I know that people are joining from different time zones, joining this live from different time zones. And yes, I'm a TV news anchor for about 15 years now, and thereafter I got into digital media as an influencer, where I do my own video series called Midweek Influence.
Yes.
Where I upload a video on every Wednesday, which I've been doing for about 2.5 years now. Talking about the situation, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that, I'll start with the good news. The good news is that the very first patient who was diagnosed with COVID-19 in Sri Lanka has totally recovered, and he's gone back home. So that's the good news. And the bad news is people still find it very difficult to stay at home. even when curfew is imposed. And to tell you, the curfew is still imposed in my district, which is Colombo.
Yeah.
And they will lift it at 6 a.m. tomorrow and will be reimposed at noon tomorrow itself. And it will continue until 6 a.m. on Friday,
Right.
which is the 27th. So I think we are going through a very tough time, unprecedented time, as you said. And it is very important to have an adaptive mindset to remain calm and to be disciplined. Rush.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that, because right now, I think one of the biggest concerns we have is what you've alluded to here. Here in the UK, there is a increasingly and aggressively strong body of people who are complaining about why the government hasn't enforced a lockdown sooner and more aggressively. It's not lockdown. People are still allowed out. People are still gathering at parks. In fact, the press talked about how there were heaves of people in Hyde Park in London, local parks. People are just gathering in large numbers in public spaces, almost floundering the advice given by respected medical advisors from around the globe. And Boris Johnson went on the record to say that if people do not self-regulate, then we will take measures to do this. So again, it comes to the subject of discipline. Let's talk about discipline here. For you, where you are at the moment, what would you say are the key disciplines that we need to be putting in place there?
Yes, before getting into that, Prash, there is always a positive side to every negative aspect. So I just want to give my credit and honor to the government of Sri Lanka, the medical staff and the tribe forces and police who are dedicating themselves day and night. And they're doing a tremendous job to get these patients to hospitals and the testing going on from there. So it's quite commendable. And
totally same here. And let me extend that to our emergency services and key workers here in the UK who are working tirelessly around the clock, many of them working shift after shift to do this. This is well publicized. There are acts of kindness that are happening. It is bringing out a side of humanity that many of us thought that was kind of forgotten or in decline. That is the act of kindness, compassion, caring, and a lot of acts of kindness taking place for key workers, for core workers. And obviously we'll be doing a big shout out in the next couple of days for the emergency workers, a big clap as they've been doing out in India. Of course, Modi has very wisely encouraged everybody to do it. I think it's on the 26th. You'll be doing it in India, and Sri Lanka, I suppose, will follow as well. So there's a lot of scope for gratitude right now. But, putting aside gratitude, part of gratitude means taking responsibility. And so let's talk about discipline here. Let's talk about what we do. And let me share a couple of ideas from my side. And Sasanka, feel free to join in and share yours as well. I think the first thing that we've got to get to grips with is understand what is the most pressing priority for the immediate and current situation. What is the most significant priority that needs our resources? And I think it goes without saying, it's our personal and our familial health and safety. So if health and safety is the number one priority, even beyond income, even beyond career, whether we have a job tomorrow or not, the number one priority, we need to establish what is that. If it's health and safety, once we've got that, I think the second step is for people to list down and then start to separate their needs and their wants. We need to start to separate our needs from our wants. Far too many of us have confused our wants for needs, and they're not. There's too many people out there thinking that they need to have this, consume this, eat this, watch this, but a lot of this isn't required. Sasan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you, Prash. And people need to understand the gravity of this, because this is not, this is something that you cannot see physically.
Right.
If you can see this physically, you're ready to take evasive action, but this is not. You don't know until it's in your system.
Right.
So that is the danger. That's why it is contagious. So we need to practice self-discipline. If you're asked to stay at home, yes, you need to stay at home. And it is very serious. If you don't, it's game over for all of us. So that's what we need to understand. And talking about self-discipline and having an adaptive mindset, which is our topic, I would like to emphasize that it depends on the people, the type of people the people associate.
Right.
I think there is a greater impact on that, because then people tend to rethink that I need to stay at home. Or if you're given a negative aspect into your mind, people tend to practice that, which is bad. What are your thoughts, Raj?
Yes, but let me just jump in there for a second.
Yeah,
I'm going to be very honest. I often end up using, with a lot of my coaching clients, even the corporate ones who are, who have senior positions and are, leaders in their own right. I end up having to use the stick more than the carrot. That is to say, I find that success occurs in the coaching when I'm amplifying the pain and reducing the pleasure. See, I think the fact of the matter is a lot of us are out there thinking that it's all fine. We have so many people out there telling us that it's not fine. And that fear needs to be used, I think, in this occasion here. We need to have a stick that tells us, wait a minute, this is not good. For those of us who are not embracing self-discipline sufficiently and disciplining our families, I think government or higher, people in authority have no choice but to put in place the stick. And I would say it's far better that we put the stick in place for ourselves, because we know that we're going to have a better chance of adherence. And as you say, we're more likely to succeed in developing an adaptive mindset if we put that discipline on ourselves and start to embrace that adaptive mindset, which means austerity, which means going without, which means reducing consumption. I mean, far too many people are consuming too much, aren't they?
Yeah, it is. But on the other hand, Brush, people have families to feed. So when we talk about panic buying, but we talk about panic buying, and we see a panic buying being violent across the globe in this time of crisis. But on the other hand, we need to think that people have to feed their families as well. But on another aspect, they need to have discipline when they do buy essentials or the commodities.
So what steps are you seeing being taken on the ground where people are starting to exercise an adaptive mindset? What's changed? Can you see signs of an adaptive mindset being absorbed by the population and embracing limitations in consumption?
Yes, I think today for some districts they actually lifted the curfew which was imposed, and again it was imposed at 2 p.m. today. So comparatively, the discipline has improved, I would say, and also even the outlets and the supermarkets have taken into online or e-commerce type of delivery, keeping in line with the safety standards.
Right.
And people are disciplined, but there were a few people, a number of people arrested during the curfew period, which is a negative. But you can say that overall it's a positive. People are improving day by day, which is a good sign.
Okay, and what do you see as the key steps towards developing, from your perspective, that adaptive mindset?
I think going forward, as I said earlier, people need to select the type of people they associate with, because we find people spread misinformation, and I saw an article recently which said the spread of misinformation is more contagious than the virus.
Oh, absolutely. And misinformation is being out there. So people need to be more judicious about the company they keep and the content they consume. It's something that I've been going on about for far too long. And we just have to keep hammering that out. We need to become more judicious about the company we keep, folks, and the content we consume. Now, when it comes to the company we keep, of course, if there's a curfew or a lockdown, then, of course, we're going to be somewhat limited in the company we physically keep with the people within our household.
True.
But one of the things that I'm finding more and more so now, and I was speaking to a coaching client the other day about it, and what I advised him is he and his partner and the children were really getting on each other's nerves. And they only have one TV area, one room. And so what I said to them is, why don't you just create certain times? Set up a small calendar, put it up on your refrigerator and say, okay, in the morning period, the kids can have the TV room. In the afternoon period, your partner can have the TV room. For a couple of hours in the evening, you can have the TV room. So everybody gets to have a space for themselves that they can call their own space with a TV, with whatever little creature comforts they want, and everybody gets to share the space. Again, it comes to discipline. You need to then discipline yourself to remain confined in one area. You need to discipline what you, I'm getting a little philosophical here. You need to discipline what comes out of your mouth. We need to discipline our tongue so we don't speak harsh words to the people around us. It's the tendency to snap and say something that we don't mean is now going to become heightened. And so the need to control, there's an old verse in an ancient Sanskrit text, a Vedic text that says, Vacho Vegam Udaropastam Manasokrodam. And the Sanskrit says that one needs to learn to control the tongue, the mind, and the belly. And it starts with the tongue. It all starts with the tongue, because by controlling the tongue, we control what we're saying. We learn to regulate what we're saying to people, right? Instead of saying something hurtful or snappy to people because we're in close proximity. And secondly, it's what we consume physically, food. And then it's what we consume through our ears and allow to pollute our mind or to empower our mind, which is coming back to what you said, right? We've got to be choosy about the kind of media because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, because we are living in a digital era and people can say anything. And the ones who accept that or see that, they need to figure out or differentiate correctly which is true and which is false.
Yes, they absolutely need to do that. So I think looking at some of the take homes from this session, the need for discipline, as Sasanka, as you very rightly pointed out, discipline is happening on the ground. There are people who are being more conscientious and considerate, but tips to actually take away from this live. One, let's start embracing discipline by first understanding what is the key priority right now and for the immediate future. In this case, in most people's agenda, it should be health and safety, one's own personal health and safety, and that of their immediate dependents or loved ones. Once we've established that, second thing, create a list and separate your needs from your wants. Understand what the differences are. Once we know what they are, strip away the wants, focus on the needs, and concentrate that limited resource, financial and human resource, on those needs only, including food, shopping, clothing, whatever is needed. And the elders in your family, etc., seeing to their needs as well. And then thirdly, it's, as you say, becoming more judicious about what we consume and who we hang out with. Whether it's physically, we need to be a little bit more disciplined with what we say, how we say, and giving people the space they need in the small confines of our living accommodations. And also virtually, right? I mean, that's the other thing. We can choose to hang out with people remotely over live Zoom calls or WhatsApps to get the kind of positive, uplifting company that we need, and shun the company of media and misinformation, right? We can get to choose that. Even though we can't physically hang out, we can hang out virtually. Is that happening out there in Sri Lanka?
Yes, because these days everyone is working from home, and some of them day in, day out, they have meetings and people from across the globe join in these meetings. So they need to practice what you said.
Yeah.
So that is important because every activity is taking place on a digital platform nowadays. So we need to be mindful of what we are speaking, as you said. We need to think twice before we utter a word. So these type of practices need to take place, and people need to get into those habits. And it's good that we came into that point, Prash. Before moving on to the takeaways, I just wanted to ask you this question. It's about habit changes. People need to change their habits, especially these days, because you're staying at home.
Yeah.
You're staying at home. So sometimes you need to change your daily habits. And then that habitual change may be difficult at the beginning. But once you do it once,
it will happen.
You will carry on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are many ways to do this. Let me give you several examples, folks, if you're tuned in and maybe you're worried that your gym membership is no longer there, or as is happening in large parts of the world now, gyms are closed, fitness facilities are closed. So there's a perfect example of something we can start to embrace at home. And it doesn't have to be complicated. We make it complicated, but if we simplify this, it can become very achievable, and we can use it as a tool to being disciplined. Simple example. We have these devices, so we can put a timer, use an app, put a timer every hour. On the hour, there's a little beep. When the beep happens, go and do 10 press ups, 10 squats, 10 jumping jacks. Just an example. Do a bit of movement. It might be 2 minutes of movement in between your workloads, in between working from home.
Also,
it's a simple. It only takes 2 minutes, and it's the reminder on your phone that will trigger you. And habits become easier, Sasanka, to adopt when chunk them down. If we put it for most people, not everybody, but for most people, if we said, okay, you need to find an hour in the day and do some exercise, people may struggle to find an hour in the day. Maybe they won't because they're at home and they got more time on their hands. But believe me, it's far easier to say, well, every hour on the hour, I'm going to do 2-3 minutes of movement. And then if you get a half an hour and you want to do a continuous exercise thing, great. But that little micro habit is the way to start to induce discipline into our schedule. Very soon it will become autonomous, and you'll naturally not need the reminder. You'll just know it's about an hour. Oh, let me just drop the floor, do some press ups or do some movement.
Also, yes. And for the people who are watching this, joining us live now, if you come up with something interesting, this is for anyone across the globe, if you come up with something interesting that you came up with while staying at home, you always have platforms to share that. If I come up with something while staying at home, so I can spread it can go viral. So these type of opportunities are available, and those are the positives as far as I'm concerned.
That's massive, actually. Yeah, you're so right. We can use social media to actually put positive tips and ideas down and share them with our families. Another idea that my brother had, I thought it was an excellent idea, is to create WhatsApp groups for family members. Put all your extended family members in one WhatsApp group, and then ideas and information that you have, put in there. Don't use it to add in the same stuff that you're getting everywhere else on WhatsApp. Just use it for logistics and inspiring and informing people. Simple. So that way you're suddenly starting to stay connected. That's another way to do that.
Yeah, that's correct.
So looking at the takeaways, I've shared some already. Sasanka, what are your key takeaways here?
My takeaways, I would like to emphasize on the fact to adapt to your mindset. In a way, it'll be hard, but I know, because even for us, it's quite hard. But you need to somehow practice this. So practice your brain and mind to change your habits. Sometimes you need to change your habits in life if you want to go out of the comfort zone. So you can make this as a perfect opportunity to practice same. And the other thing is that The other thing that I want to emphasize on is the social distancing, which they always talk about now. Social distancing is very important, and it has become a buzzword these days. And I see that happening in Sri Lanka, even in the media. They always raise awareness uh, on the people, saying that you need to maintain that 1 meter or 2 meter distance among two people.
Yeah.
And they show it graphically and raise that awareness quite clearly. And it has a lot of clarity. And people have practiced that during these few days. And I think our curfew is imposed until Friday from tomorrow again.
Right.
We need to definitely get into those habit changes. And talking about things to do at home, I've seen a few videos, absolutely fascinating stuff, Prash, because people use their time at home to spend with family, to do their physical exercises. And even today, there were a set of people in Sri Lanka who has come up with a song, which is called the Cup Song, where they raise awareness on what needs to be done, washing your hands, sanitizer, and keeping the distance, as we discussed a few minutes ago, and so on and so forth. There are a certain set of instructions issued by the WHO that people can practice. So these type of habits, I think it is more, the more weightage is on the change of habits. If we can change that, we will survive, because this is a do or die game. It's about life and death. You don't know until it's in your system. So you need to take precautions. Taking precautions is of utmost importance at this juncture.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it goes back to the comment that I said earlier, that I think in times like this, sometimes the carrot is not as important as the stick. We need to use the stick to discipline ourselves.
Absolutely.
Before the government or before authorities start to discipline us. It's a lot harder for our ego and for our mind to accept.
That is one point. I think you can add more to this, Rush. I think we have about 3 or 4 minutes left. So ego is playing a huge part when it comes to not being self-disciplined. What are your thoughts on that?
Ego is such an important part. And again, when it comes to what we're facing at the moment, and in my background in metaphysical and subconscious training and the sort of spiritual side of the journey that I've been on, I think one of the things that I've learned is we have to gradually shape our ego and become in touch when our ego is playing up. And it's one of the, again, like the coronavirus, our ego is invisible. We can't clearly see. So it's intangible, and we don't know sometimes when it's playing up. But there are signs when we start to physically have certain emotions come up, or our body manifests certain physical symptoms like shortness of breathing, heat, shallow breath, as I say, trembling. All of these are indicators that our ego may be upset or prodded. And sometimes we just need to be a little bit more aware, take a few breaths, and second guess what we're saying or how we're responding. Become our own gatekeeper. And by becoming our own gatekeeper, when we're feeling uncomfortable about a situation or a circumstance, we're able to start to perceive the ego's role inside that situation. And then recognize that we are not the ego. We are not the same thing as the ego. And once we do that, that distancing, that cognitive dissonance allows us to respond to the situation in a better way, in a healthier way.
Hold on. Yeah, that's correct. And an ego is contagious as far as I'm concerned. And we need to get off the ego. It's not only in this situation, but even in life.
So much so. Yeah.
You cannot move forward if you are an egoistic person.
Absolutely.
Which I have my personal experience. I have met plenty of people. That's why I have created my personal branding statement as be an influencer, not an influencer.
Yeah, I
Because
really like
certainly not an influencer like COVID-19.
right. Yeah, I really like that. Be an influencer, not an influenza. And
Because
to be,
I've met people of both disciplines.
I
That's
think
what
that's it.
I
That's
just wanted to have it in as my personal branding statement. So whenever I see that,
yeah.
I recall that I need to discipline myself as well.
We need to be the cause for a positive effect.
Absolutely.
That's the
Spot
thing.
on. Spot on.
So we need to learn
Yeah.
to become better with our discipline. We've shared some of the summaries how to do that. We need to have a better adaptive mindset. And an adaptive mindset can be developed in conjunction with learning to recognize where our ego is playing up and utilizing the tools of the carrot and the stick, utilizing the pain of the situation to bring ourselves into a disciplined situation rather than the pleasure of what we're missing out. We need to put aside FOMO, fear of missing out, and we need to embrace what I call jogi, the joy of going inside, the joy of going inward. That's what we need, not FOMO. We need jogi. That's what we need. And if we become the example, then our family are more likely to embrace that with less ego, less resistance, and more cooperation. I think that's it from me. Sasank, any last words from yourself?
We just need to request from everyone across the globe. There are 3 steps to be taken if you want to confront this crisis, because I saw in media, they say that this is the worst crisis since the Great Depression in the US, and then you can name a few as well. And this is even in the Sri Lankan context, we have gone through a 30-year civil war, but this ranks away a bit higher than that. Because we have never seen something of this nature. We have never seen something of this nature. And the 3 steps to wrap up: number 1 is stay at home, 2 is stay at home, and 3 is also stay at home. And take care of your family. Keep the distance if you're associating with people, and make sure that you accept the proper information. Do not spread misinformation, because that is contagious than the virus. Keep your self-discipline intact. Have an adaptive mindset. Change your habits even from tomorrow, and let's see how we can survive. And before we wrap up, I think, Prash, we should send our condolences to the people who have lost their lives in Italy. It's a tribulation.
Yes.
Every day, more than 500 people die. More than 500 people, close to 800 people yesterday, which is quite. I can't put it into words because quite shocking. You've never seen something of this nature, and from a virus. That's what I have to say, Prash, and thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to everyone across the globe. And I think these type of conversations, I hope that these type of conversations would benefit multitudes of people across the globe, so that they can take away positives out of this conversation and practice it life.
And practice it. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Sasank, ladies and gentlemen, Sasanka Dias joining us from Sri Lanka, sharing wisdom and the reality check from the ground as a respected news and TV anchor and a respected personality in media. Sasanka, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, that's it for myself.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We'll do something again, I'm sure. We will, and we'll come back at you.
Take care.
Thank you. That's it for me, Prash, from Stress to Success. Look after yourselves, absorb, assimilate, let the stick guide you, not the carrot. We're in austere times. Embrace discipline, embrace austerity, and together we will overcome and persevere. That's it for me. Peace out.
Take care.
Hey folks, thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and as with all our episodes, found something to inform, inspire, and empower you in your personal and spiritual journeys in life. As always, feel free to leave a little love through your ratings and comments, subscribe, and share it with those you care about. And take your personal and spiritual evolution to the next level by joining us on one of our unique events, workshops, or retreats, or taking advantage of our personal and professional coaching packages. Find out more about us at mantratherapy.co.uk. I'm your host, Prash K. This is Urban Spirituality, and we will catch you on the next episode.